Hi guys, it's Kian and Tew. So we're back today with another episode, and it's the start of the new year. So, well, you may notice that we're still in the same clothes, but but it's gonna be the start of the new year by the time this video comes out. So, I thought something that would be interesting to talk about during this period would be the idea of immortality, or vampires, or multiple lives. Okay, so let me go a bit into it. So for people who know me well, they will know that I kind of have this like obsession with vampires, just like in fiction. In general, I just find them really cool. Not in real life, I guess. I don't know whether they're real life vampires, but like they're really cool in fiction. I like reading like webtoons, mangas, and all that with vampires. If there's a vampire in it, I will probably read it.
So what is it about vampires that you find cool?
I honestly have no idea. I think so. Let me like detour a bit, right? So there's this Korean artist called Tableau, like singer. I don't really follow his singing stuff, but like there was this interview that I saw of him where he was talking about why he likes vampires, and he likes vampires because he likes the idea of immortality and not dying. And he feel like it'd be so cool if like him and all his loved ones were just like immortal and never have to separate. So that's why he's obsessed with the idea of vampires.
But vampires aren't necessarily the only immortal fictional creature.
Yeah, so no, so I think that is not my entire basis, and like I think honestly I just find it very aesthetically pleasing. I like the visual aesthetics of like the dark vibe in a lot of vampire, like whether visual or if you're reading a novel, the picture it paints, right? The dark atmosphere and like blood, and there's usually like violence and the question of like existence and mortality, and also just like
What do you
most of the
give
time
up?
it's sexy, okay? Come on, that's the basis. No lah, I mean
Okay.
there's a lot of it, I think. Some of it frivolous and some of it maybe less so, but it just appeals to me a lot. So so something that I've been recently thinking about, so like a few things accumulated into like to this topic. One of which is my obsession with vampires in general, kind of came back while I was reading a bunch of like webtoons. And then I started doing The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which is basically a 12-week program to get unblocked in terms of like your creativity and being an artist and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. And I think one of the questions that was in like this week's task is basically, if you have 5 other lives, what do you imagine you would do in them? And it kind of goes back down also to the idea of like immortality, where I basically like while I was reading like vampire webtoons, I just had this like random idea of like, what would I do if like I'm a vampire and I have like all the time in the world? And because I think more than, well, definitely I think more than money, time is really the most limiting resource that we have as a human.
As a human.
Right?
Yeah.
Not implying that there's real life vampires out there, but like
Because if you had unlimited time and then whatever decisions that you have regretted, you could always go back, so to say,
Yeah.
and redo them.
correct. So I think like as humans we live and we die, right? I think that's something that we can't deny. And I feel like the way I'm saying it, because of all the setup, it just feels like I'm talking as if like there's actually vampires, but there isn't. I'm just saying that
Not as far as we know, yeah.
not as far as we know. But like the idea that we're gonna live and we're gonna die, right, means that time is limited. We just don't know how limited it is. So the idea of like exploring like, if you have unlimited time or if you have a lot more time, like whether it be different lives, whether you're immortal, what would you want to do? It's a very free and exploratory way to like imagine, to let yourself imagine and dream about what you want to do. Because I feel like for some of us, like me, it's quite difficult to like just let yourself really dream of all these things. Maybe because you're more sensible, you're more practical, you're more
Just
down to earth. Whatever the case is, whatever is stopping you from dreaming, these are some of the ideas that have been popping up recently. So I thought like, hey, maybe this is like, the universe telling me this is what I need to look at. So I'm gonna start by asking you the question. If you have unlimited time, be it okay, let's start with the easy one. If you have 5 other lives, what would you wanna do?
So I guess in one of the lives, or rather in all five of the other lives, I would not have chosen architecture as a university degree.
So you want to go like back to like slightly after before choosing your major in uni.
Yes, because currently in Singapore, it isn't easy to choose another degree
Yeah.
once you have completed your first degree.
You have to spend a lot of time and resource to
Yes.
basically like if you want to do another
Yes,
degree.
and you are basically putting yourself several years behind your peers.
Yeah.
So if I had five other lives, I wouldn't have chosen architecture.
What would you have
I would
chosen?
So actually, my second choice and my third choice were pretty mainstream things like engineering, science.
Okay.
Because I was a science student in JC, as hard as it is to believe.
I was a science student too. To be fair, I think most of the architecture students that we were close to in Archi school were science students.
Yeah, so something that I think would have turned out very differently would be if I had chosen engineering or science. And because that would result in a very different group of friends and a very different university experience.
Yeah.
So even though I regret choosing architecture, I don't really regret the experiences that came out of it. But if I
Had a choice.
had a choice, I wouldn't put myself through that again because it is a very painful learning process. And currently, my job has nothing to do with my degree. So, in terms of, I guess, the success of future me, obviously, that's not a very wise choice to do something different from your degree.
Yeah.
So, I would, in one of my past lives, maybe I would have chosen engineering and become a boring researcher or a boring engineer. And in one of the other five lives, I would have liked to pursue art, even though I just said that I wanted to be a practical engineer.
No, but let yourself dream, right? That's what this thought experiment is really about.
Yeah.
So what kind of art would you have liked to do?
I think I would have liked to specialize in either fine art, because back then that was what I was good at and interested in, or like art history, art curation. And the other avenue that I think now that I lean more towards, so now I can say that of my past self would be graphic design or more like applied arts. Yeah.
But you would not have thought of that at that point in time.
I would not have, yeah, because back then I had very practical concerns, like Kian mentioned. So back then the nice trade-off between choosing art and choosing a boring degree was architecture. But
Yeah, so I kind of have a similar experience. I think we want to talk a bit more about like architecture school in another video, but I guess we'll just briefly mention. I guess me choosing architecture was also somewhere in between like me. So I was a science student like you, and then but I've always been interested in creating things, and I think like architecture was kind of my sensible in between choice of like wanting to create and wanting to have like a degree that was maybe a bit more practical, a bit more functional. So I didn't particularly want it, but it was kind of like a compromise between like what I wanted and what I think I should want, like a stable job and wanting to create. So that was like the accumulation of factors. Looking back, I would say it's not the wisest choice, but I think I made the best choice that I could at that point in time. So interesting, you actually choose to go back. I will just continue moving forward. I don't really want to like go back and learn another degree.
oh,
Like I will just move ahead from now, like out of my five choices. So maybe I just share one first. So when I was doing the journaling for like the artist way, the first three came very easily. I think I wrote like in order: door cafe owner, then face up artist and writer. So I think this comes very like these answers come very easy to me because I've been thinking about them at the back of my head. I think I just never let myself have the courage to admit that I want to do these things because they sound kind of like airy fairy, like you're not gonna earn any money from it and things like that. But I think it's important to let yourself dream sometimes. Yeah, so
Yeah, now that I think about it, it would be pretty cool to be like a barista or a bartender and set up your own bar or cafe or both in one, two in one.
Yeah, do you want to share that idea that you had?
Yeah.
Or maybe you don't want to because you don't want people to steal your idea.
No, I mean, I'm sure this is a pretty common idea to have like a bookstore cafe in the morning or in the daytime that transitions to like a bar at night, and then throughout the day, I don't know whether it's a 24-hour establishment or like a 18 hours, whatever, throughout the day it's a gym, because right now the 24-hour gyms are pretty popular. Yeah, so it seems kind of, on opposite ends of the spectrum, a quiet reading space and like a more social bar kind of setting. But I
Yeah.
think both these elements, in both these settings, there's the element of wanting to find some space for yourself in a public space. And so it would be nice to create that kind of space where people can find refuge in.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's very similar to my thoughts of like wanting to be a doll cafe owner.
Yeah, and the gym thing comes in because it's supposed to be like a holistic wellness thing. Not only do you cultivate your mind and your, I guess, your social life,
You
your
want to
internal
cultivate
life,
your
you should also
body.
cultivate your body, right? Because, yeah,
You are a
sitting,
whole person.
alcohol is not that good for your body. So, if you want to balance out the guilt, just
It's like the bookstore is for your mind, then the gym is for your body, and then like the bar is for like your
your heart
social
or
self.
something, or your soul.
I
I
guess.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so that would be like one of your other. So you have three so far, right? One would be a boring engineer.
Yeah. One would be an
One would be an
artist.
artist, and then one would be a owner of this like accumulation of things in this shop.
Yeah. And I think it would be quite cool if like you had a pull-up bar at the entrance, and then if you can do one pull-up for ladies, or I don't know, 6 for guys, you get a free beer on the house.
Limited to one per night.
Yeah, limited to 1 per entry, of course.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool. Yeah, so I think maybe let me share a bit about like the doll cafe idea that I have. So like doll cafes are pretty common in Korea. They're not really common in Singapore. Like BJD doll cafes, and I think like there's always this. Well, technically there has been and there's currently still is doll shops in Singapore. It's just really there are not many of them and it's very difficult to find. The current one is like Dolly the Shop. Previously there used to be like Alice 88. I can't really remember what they're called, but like they are usually mostly like Lolita shops that also happen to sell dolls. And most of the time they just like help you order online. So
So it's
they
not
are
really a doll focused.
yeah, and they're not in stock usually. But then in Korea, when I went to like Switch showroom or like Nine Style Cafe and all this, right, what they really have is like a cafe section, and then like there's usually some setup for you to like some sort of backdrop with some props for your dolls, and then there's also a section that's like a shop. So like that is kind of like heaven or paradise for doll owners, because admittedly you'll be out of cash or credit card, whatever you're using to spend. Please spend wisely. But it's just like you go in there and it's paradise, and then you're just like, oh, I get to connect with people who like similar things as I do. I get to see all this aesthetically styled dolls. I get to buy things that are like ready. You don't have to wait for like a few months for it to ship to your house and maybe get lost in the mail or get trampled on or whatnot by the post service.
So the shop aspect is pretty much like a specialized doll shop.
Yeah, so it's both like you can just also go there to like have a drink and maybe meet up with your doll friends and like use their uh backdrops and props for photos, or you can, which most people would probably do, go and spend some money at the shop portion where you buy them clothes or eyes or whatnot, or even buy an entire doll. And like I've done both. Like when I've gone to Korea, I bought like a doll at Vogue's. I bought like when we went to Japan, I bought like clothes for my dolls at Vogue's and at Dokes, which is another shop, despite the similar sounding name. I'm sure all of this doesn't really make sense to you because you're probably not a doll owner, but it's just the idea of like this I guess social interaction, because usually when you have the hobby, you are like very isolated, and a lot of it is online. And then like when I have dorm meets with my friends, you have to like go and scout out some cafe and try to like camp in a corner and hope people don't come around and ask us like, oh, what are these stalls? What are you doing? And then like it's not that easy to find like good photo areas as well, because like lighting is probably not that great, and you have to like maneuver around the tables and things like that, trying to find a good angle.
So it actually offers an experience that you can't really recreate at home.
Yeah, I think the social aspect of it, and also, I guess in a way, it's like what you say. It's kind of like a refuge, right? It's you go there to be with other people, but you also go there to be with something that you're really interested in, and like be there with like-minded people. It's kind of like you can play card games, but there's something different about playing card games at a card game like shop, right? Like I mean, I don't play it, but you can see that people who go there clearly enjoy it. If not, why would they be there, right? So honestly, that would be really great. I don't know about the financial aspects of it, but that would be really great. Another idea that I have is also like similar to this, is like a doll studio, like a bunch of people doing face ups or sewing or whatever. Like besides this doll shop, maybe a section of it could like be a workshop space. That would be really cool. Like I would love to be able to, I guess, do face ups with other people, learn what they do, and like maybe work on face ups like in parallel. Like there's something to be said. Like I think it's also called parallel play in kids, where two kids just sit side by side, but they play with their own things and they don't interact with each other. But there's something fun about that, and like I think that's something that would be really nice. Like I hated architecture studio. I didn't want to work in studio and like work alongside other people, but I would love to have the experience as a face up artist. So I think that's a bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's my fantasy life number one. I don't know how you'll work out, but that is one of my fantasy lives.
Yeah, I think when I was a bit younger, I wanted to be a carpenter.
Like work with wood
Like,
and
yeah,
make furniture.
do woodworking. Because I thought it was very satisfying, because I didn't see furniture as just a vocational thing. I thought it was more like a craft that you got better at the more you did it. So
Yeah.
it's really like, I guess, the idea of craftsmanship, and not like what we have in Singapore, where it is viewed as like a blue collar job, but more something like a, intangible cultural heritage, or like a living heritage kind of embodiment.
Honestly, it's really like quite cool. I was watching some video where this person's dad is a carpenter, and like he just has like this huge warehouse where there's just like pieces of, like it sounds funny when I describe it, I think, but like I would love to be able to experience it. Like I don't know. I think because we are like makers at heart in a way. That's what appeals to us.
Yeah,
Furniture is also really cool though, because it's like functional.
it is, and yet it has also a certain beauty in it.
Yeah, I think both beauty and function have to come together. And like sometimes when I say things like this, I feel like this is precisely why I got into architecture, but this is also precisely why I don't like architecture.
Yeah, that's true. But there are many other ways to express.
Yeah, no, I think I just don't care for it in the form of buildings.
Yeah.
I don't mind it in the form of like city urbanscape, but I don't care for it. Anyway, let's not go into that. We'll make a separate video on architecture. We have clearly a lot to say on it, but we'll do it another time. But back to the different lives. So carpenter, yeah. I guess you eventually want to have your own setup, like, but you probably start off like learning from somebody else.
Yeah. So, I mean, why carpenter in particular, and not like, I don't know, pottery, or what else is
What
there?
other medium?
Seamstress.
I guess sculpture also
Sculpture.
function. I can only think of like public works, kind of like sculpture. Because like other than that, it's not that functional. I don't know, like
Yeah, actually, I don't know why.
metal
Carpenter.
works,
Metal
like jewelry
working.
or
Yeah, jewelry would be pretty cool too, but it's not as accessible as furniture, you see.
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Because not everybody needs jewelry, but everybody needs a chair. At
Yeah.
least one chair, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So interesting. I feel like also maybe like wood is just a material that calls out to me more than other materials. Which is funny because like I make jewelry for dolls. But I think it's just because it's like small and easy to get. Like if you actually ask me to do like, when a proper jewelry maker actually has to use all the tools, like you have to like polish, sharpen, like you have to do basically all the things you do with wood, like cut it, shape it, and all that. But with metal, which is much more difficult,
And in
I
like a
just,
tiny, tiny size.
I just, yeah, it's too much for me. Yeah. Okay, so that's like your fourth one. What's your fifth one? Okay, but I think maybe I share my next one, right? So face up artist, I think, is also again related to dolls. So like painting dolls as a full time job and actually like being able to earn from it. I guess it'd be really cool to not just do like personal commissions, like when individual owners contact you to paint their heads and then you paint it according to what they want and you send it back, right? I think it'd be also really cool if I could like work for a company or get to a point where like I can actually paint my own heads and like auction it off or something like that. Like that's what some really good face up artists are able to do at the moment. And like I think it would be really cool to be able to do that. But I don't see it as like a very long running job because like it's quite a lot of work, honestly. And you have to work with quite a lot of hazardous materials, honestly. Like especially the spray, the sealant is kind of hazardous. But like I think so I think from the previous video you might feel like I don't particularly appreciate aesthetics, but like I really one aspect of aesthetics that I really enjoy over the years has always been like the human face. That's why I really like manga back when I used to draw. My details were mostly in the face, which is a very typical young artist kind of thing for people who start off by drawing manga style characters. And then like now doing dolls, like customizing dolls, the face is the part that I like to do the most. I actually don't really care nearly as much about like the eyes or the wig. I do, but not as much as I care about the face. So like there is a certain kind of face that appeals to me. It's just like with vampires, right? I don't know why exactly I like it. I just do. So like I think that's me with like human faces, I think.
Like the kind of inhuman beauty.
I guess so, but like I think there's different kinds. I'm not like well, honestly I'm not fixated on a certain style, but I do think I have like certain preferences. Like if I'm searching for ideas for my own dolls, it's usually like dark makeup, grunge makeup, um, usually quite smoky, whether they're guys or girls. I like a lot of like reds and blacks again with the vampire aesthetics. Like there is a trend. I just think it hasn't really solidified into anything specific yet. Or maybe it has and I just can't recognize it myself.
Yeah, maybe there's no term for it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think people who look at my stuff probably think I have a style. I just find it very difficult to spot it myself. Or maybe it's just like all over the place at the moment. Which is fine. Yeah. It's just a journey.
Yeah. And I guess for my fifth life,
Yeah, your fifth alter ego life.
it could be something that I go into now instead of going back to the past and changing.
Yeah.
I think it would be pretty cool to be like a book translator or editor. Because growing up, I really liked reading books. So I think it would be pretty cool to be part of the process, part of the creating process.
Okay, so we ran out of video.
Again.
It's not so bad this time, it's only 4 minutes. We ran out quite badly in the previous round, but anyway, so you were saying that you would like to be a book translator.
Yeah, or editor, because it would be pretty cool to be involved in the creation process. So I was actually a translator in the past, but it wasn't for books. But it was also kind of like a storytelling entertainment medium. I don't really want to say this because my professional name is out there somewhere.
It's okay, you don't have to review too much.
Yeah. But eventually I left for other purposes. But I still think it would be cool to go back and, bring the kind of.
Things that bring you joy, but you are the one doing it now.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's me with like writing. And I used to also want to be like a mangaka, but I kind of gave up on the idea after like I did KonMari. Like I did Marie Kondo and I hugged all my pages and I was like, no.
Yeah, writing is too much work. So I think like, for example, editing would be a process that I think aids the writer in, being better able to convey their message. Or for example, translation would be to let it reach a wider audience.
Yeah, I won't mind translation, honestly.
But translation comes with its own set of problems.
Yeah, but I think at my heart I want to be a writer, but I don't even know what I want to write. And it's kind of scary to review that because like it's like a dream that I guess I never really tell anyone because it's kind of unrealistic in the sense that it's more common to have people tell you you're not going to make it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is in particular creative writing, right? And not something like
like
copywriting.
fictional writing. I'm talking about vampires. See, it's a trend that keeps coming up. But like I figured like since, it calls my name, I'm gonna just go with it.
Yeah, vampires don't really call to me. I don't know. The idea of living forever and not dying just seems kind of monotonous and like you'll get bored of it eventually. Although it is nicer to, think of having a lifespan that is more than 100 years or 80 years. Kind
Yeah.
of like, I don't know, an elf or
I think part of it is maybe also the fact that like although they live for so long, they remain relatively youthful. Right. Whereas like imagining growing old is also kind of scary because like you don't really know whether you'll be physically or mentally still as capable as you are. Most of the time the answer is you would not be. I think 99% chance you would not be unless you put in some real crazy effort at the start. But like, and there's still a lot of things that you can't control, like, just genetic factors, illness, things like that. So maybe that's part of the idea of vampires, but also like I said, I think the frivolous reason that they're just sexy.
So you want to be a sexy vampire?
No, but I would like to observe some sexy vampires in fiction. Like I don't want to be a vampire, but I like to look at stories that have vampires, and like look at them explore the kind of moral dilemmas that they have, as well as just like general stuff that they get up to, including blood sucking. I think this is the first time that I've admitted my degeneracy in public. It's honestly really difficult. Like, it's not something that I talk about very often, and I don't know whether I'll regret saying this. But I feel like I'm moving into a new chapter of my life where I'm trying to like be more accepting of the things that I enjoy. So this is my first tiny step in trying to say that, and please be nice. If you're not nice, we'll just, remove your comment. But I hope that you're nice.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, enjoying the things you do as long as it's legal.
Yeah, I guess in general, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone. But
Yeah, your vampires are completely fictional. They don't hurt anyone.
yeah, they don't hurt anyone. They're fictional. I feel like fiction is also a very safe space to explore things that are like you don't actually want to happen, but you want to know what could potentially happen. So like, I've seen, like in the fanfic sphere, there's a lot of ideas of like, oh, you wrote a terrible thing, whether it's like let's say dubious consent, non-consensual, or like maybe just a very difficult topic, like I don't know, death or like trauma or whatever, right? And then sometimes people are like, oh, you shouldn't write about these things, or I guess Hannibal, like the Hannibal TV show, people be like, you shouldn't write about a guy that goes around killing people and eating them, like cannibalizing them, right? I hope that's not a spoiler because like I'm pretty sure that's like in the summary.
Yeah.
Like people will object to things, fictional pieces like this, in the idea like, oh, like does this mean the author is like this, or is the author, I guess, propagating this idea, trying to get people to do it, or what? But I feel like in a way, humans always have like strange urges or urges that maybe are not appropriate for the real world, and fiction is a safe space to actually let it all play out. And like, it's not like you actually want to like kill and cannibalize people, but what if somebody does that? You know, like what could play out from it, and that's I guess how Hannibal Lecter as a book or like as a TV series, which is what I consume it as, was formed. And I find it very interesting to think about all these things that maybe are a bit more forbidden to think about or talk about. And like fiction really gives you the space. And you know it's a safe space to talk about it, to think about it. Because like fictional characters die, but like no real life people are harmed in the making of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like in all our 5 lives.
Technically, I only said three because I can't think of like four and five.
Yeah. It seems like there's a common theme of creating a safe space to explore what we're interested in, either, for us, the safe space for us, or like a safe space for
Other people.
the extended community.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's interesting to think about it like that, because I feel like the things that I put down are things that I have been thinking at the back of my mind, and I just like never really dare to say them out loud. And it's quite interesting to hear yours. Because like I didn't think about like going back a bit to like, maybe retract my steps.
Because
Yeah.
you thought you would be a immortal vampire.
But I mean, if you're an immortal vampire, it doesn't matter. You don't need to retract your steps. You just start all over again.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, right? You're still like whatever age you are, like visually, they're not gonna guess that you're older than that. So unless you're stupid like Edward Cullen, in which case like don't stay in the same school for so long. Or like don't get an actor who's clearly over 18 to play him. Okay, I don't know. I don't really have any prejudices against Edward Cullen. I just never got past the first book. I read the first book and I watched the first movie and I never read the rest of it. He's just a easy vampire to hit. I honestly don't mind that he sparkles. I like sparkly stuff.
You just objectified the vampire.
Well, I mean,
He's fictional.
yeah. I mean, you sent me a post recently about like fictional werewolf husbands. And I can't remember what the exact post was about.
Oh, yeah, the post was about, all your friends in life, getting married, having children,
right.
and then your parents are like, what are you doing with your life, right? And then you can be like, oh, I have a sexy werewolf husband, fictional, and then like, I have a, I don't know, 3-story
children.
mansion in Minecraft or something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I do not have a sexy vampire husband. I don't particularly dream of that, but I like to, I guess, observe and like look at the possible things that could play out. I don't self-insert. I don't put myself into the story. I just like to look at the story. I like to create the stories, whichever the case is. It's just that, I guess, as adults, it's a bit easy to be blocked but for all this. It's very easy to just like, yeah, I feel like today's topic is really like creating a safe space for us to talk about this, and hopefully with you guys in the comments as well. Feel free to share with us like what your 5 other lives could be.
Or if you don't have 5, maybe.
Just a
Oh,
few.
you have more
Like you
than
can have
5?
you can say 3 like me, or like even just 1. I think it's very freeing to let yourself imagine things that maybe you won't let yourself imagine otherwise.
Kind of like your alternate lives.
Yeah. You're basically writing fiction.
Yeah, just set in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. So like basically what we did in this
Doll
video is
Cafe AU.
we wrote fiction for ourselves. AU means alternate universe, by the way, in case you didn't know. So yeah. So basically we just did a verbal storytelling of our AUs.
Not really a full storytelling, but
Well, yeah, I guess the premise, like the pilot, to get people sold on the story.
the 3 times key and something and the 1.
The 3+1 format. No, 4+1 or 5+1. Yeah, doesn't matter. N+1. Okay, sorry. We're just like shouting fandom tropes. If you don't understand them, it's fine. I guess that's like this week's video. I mean, we had a bit more of a serious one in the previous one, which is 2 weeks ago, about bullet journaling and planning. But I think part of like the new year is also letting yourself explore and try new things, try or maybe revisit old things that maybe you've put off. Just being more open to ideas, I think. So if you enjoyed today's video, please like and also maybe give us a comment. Share with us what your 5 alternate lives could be. And I think that's all for today.
Yep. So
Okay.
we'll see you next time.
Bye! Okay, so the intuition game or like the telepathy game is basically you just close your eyes, and then when you feel the urge to clap, you just clap, and you see whether we are in sync and whether we clap together. That's all there is to it, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Let's just try. Let's just try. Okay. My eyes are closed. Let's
So are mine.
start. Okay, I guess I'm not in sync. It's okay. Too sad feel this when they did it also.